Hey, welcome to another Facebook event from my home today. Glad to be with you. I'm Dr. Randy Carlson, and we've got people who have been joining us every day. We're here at noon Pacific time, been talking about lots of issues of depression and about taking care of our bodies and about exercise and about growing our spirit, as we're calling this intentionally at home, because when you're at home right now, you can either be very unintentional, waste your time, lose this opportunity, or you can be very intentional when you're home more now than ever. And I hope you will be. And that's really the whole purpose of this, is to help you be intentionally in your home and at home. And we've been having guests stop by from time to time. And I'm excited about today. We've invited Linda Swindling, who's been a part of the ministry for some time. She's really a wisdom leader in the workplace. She calls herself a recovering attorney, and she's authored a lot of books. She's got a lot of passion. She's brought along some slides today to share some things on her heart, and I've got a few questions for her. And if you want to post a question or comment here, I hope you will today, because we want you to grow and be a part of this in the process. So, hey, Linda, welcome to our Facebook event today. Glad to have you with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Randy. This is great information for people right now. That I'm so happy you're doing this.
Well, I know your real expertise is in the area of negotiations in the workplace and so on. And like many people, I understand you're home, so this is a whole new experience for you. You have to go through some changes yourself as a result of what's going on.
Absolutely. I've been, saying jokes like, well, let me check my calendar. Yep, I'm not traveling next week. I'm in. People are like, it's not that funny. I think it's hilarious, but you have to change how things are going. And there's some gifts, there's some challenges. If you can think of it as, like you were saying, a negotiation, it helps you.
Yeah. Well, it really is. And expand a little bit on that. You talk about negotiations, and I think people think of that in terms of always negotiating with other people,
Right.
Which certainly is a part of it. What do you mean when you talk about being good at negotiations when it comes to whatever is going on in your life right now in the workplace?
Sure. I see everything. And like you said, I'm a recovering attorney. When I started seeing things as everything, as a negotiation, whether I was dealing with my kids, with my husband, thinking about myself, just trying to get myself to do some of the things I needed to do. Once I started thinking about it more as, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? What are my reasons why? What are the good reasons? And then, is it really worth it? Once I started thinking about that, I could start thinking about it for other people too. So what's somebody else trying to accomplish? Why? What are their good reasons? And then, is it worth it to them? And once I started doing that, things became less personal. So when I'm trying to make decisions, oh my gosh, it was so personal. Or if you told me no, Randy, I asked you for a raise, I asked you for a different kind of job. I asked for you to be my client or be my vendor, and you told me no in the past before I looked at it like a negotiation, my feelings would be hurt. I really thought you were rejecting me, as opposed to, this isn't a good business deal for me right now, Linda, or this isn't about you. It's just right now, this doesn't make sense for our side, for our people. And I tell you, once you start looking at things more from I wonder what's in it for them. I wonder what they're trying to achieve. What is it that they need? Why? What are their good business reasons why? Or what are their good personal reasons why? Then all of a sudden your conversations change. And it's not about me trying to win you over. It's me really considering what do you need, Randy, or what do you really want? And then trying to figure out if I can get what I want in the exchange. And that I think will help.
Well, let's bring it home to where people are right now. I'm thinking we got people going out to the workplace. Maybe they're fearful about being out in the workplace. Maybe they're not real thrilled about the safety measures being taken in the workplace where they are, and they're concerned for their family. And they're not the kind that's a very assertive person. They're kind of fitting in. At the same time, they're frustrated. And we hear that a lot on the news. This approach of negotiations, how can a person who's feeling uncomfortable in the workplace today approach the leadership or boss about their concerns?
Well, that's a great question. I was curious about that too. So I did some really quick research. I had a webinar last week and literally had 4 days to just ask people questions about, what's hard right now. And what came up was I created a presentation on, how do you negotiate tough times?
Mm.
And what happened was, as people were asking, as a speaker and as an author, there's no jobs right now. Nobody wants you to come to their meeting that is non-existent. So what do you do? Well, you'll see here it says resources that negotiate tough times. There's a lot of resources there because that was the one thing I felt like I could do just right now for people who are hurting. You and I've talked about this. This isn't the first time I've been without a job. I actually got out of law school with some debt because my husband and I paid for it ourselves. He went and got his master's and I got my law degree. And if you can believe this, Randy, a year into it, my entire firm of 115 attorneys dissolved.
Wow.
And I didn't provide much value as a first-year attorney, so I didn't get to go to a spinoff firm. I went to a small firm, and are you ready for this? 3 months later, for the very first time in my life, I was fired.
Wow.
So in a period of 3 months, I'd been laid off totally and fired. And for a long time, I felt like, that's really a big rejection. That's a rejection of me, my abilities. I had my plan. A lot of us have our plan, right? And my whole question was always, why? Why is this going? Why me? We have all this debt. We had to buy 2 new cars. They wouldn't loan us money on used cars. So both cars had died, one on spring break coming back and one at the end of the year. And so all of a sudden it was, why? There were no jobs. The market was terrible. And that's when I really started looking at, just basically what you talk about, your intention.
Right.
What's your intention in that point? And what I was feeling was rejection. I'm a loser. I thought I had really planned this well. I think you and I've talked, I had 55 interviews. If someone came to the law school, I brought them cookies or muffins and said, hey, I noticed you didn't have time to interview me. I brought you something to eat. I was very intentional, doing a good job, like a lot of people are going through right now. You're doing a great job, and yet they eliminate your job, or you think they might. So how do you plan for those detours when you're being intentional? And
Well,
so
let me just jump in on there for a minute, Linda.
yeah.
We do have people right now. We've had millions of people who have lost their jobs. They thought maybe their job was secure. We hear people have been in a workplace for 30, 40 years losing their job as a result of what's going on. And they're thinking about, they have a new level of fear and concern they didn't have even 2 or 3 months ago. And they're thinking about, is this a good time to be changing careers? Is this a good time to be looking at new opportunities? I mean, you've been through this with the loss of a job and the change of careers. What are some skills that people need to be developing right now as they're trying to be intentional to figure out what's going to be next in their life as we come through this?
Right. Well, I'll tell you this, when you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from, it's very hard to be intentional with anything other than I've got to provide shelter. And when it happened to me, I just had a verse that kept going through me, and I'll show that to you, but just a phrase that would go through was, I didn't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. And we know who that is.
Right.
And so what I had to say is often, I don't really know what's going to happen. So what can I do right now to provide the most value? So if you were just laid off, who is it right now that you could provide value to? And it may be you're going to free up, if you have a significant other or spouse, it may be you're freeing them up to go work and do their best. It may be your value is to take unemployment. If you're qualified for unemployment, you do the unemployment right now and you get certified as quickly as possible on something that provides value.
Right.
But running around scattered and upset and, it's not going to serve you. No. And that's what I didn't do well. My 26-year-old person self did not do that well. I was scared to death. But here's what I know from all of those people, all 115 of those attorneys and all 115 of the people who supported them, were about half and half. All of them wound up somewhere better. They all had a better opportunity. And it was because they were able to take a breath, say, what kind of crazy have I been in? And do I really want to do that kind of crazy anymore? And so that it might be you need to be the person that steps up. If traditionally you've been the breadwinner and somebody else can get bread right now, just win some bread and they're more employable, it might be swap. My husband and I have done that a couple of times. One time I was the breadwinner. One time he was the very nurturing one, and we needed support with the kids, and he helped do that. One time, we swapped, and that's kind of what you do right now is who can provide what right now. And if you're willing to work, there's always a place for someone of value. There always is.
Well, I think what you're saying too, Lynn, if I hear you, is just don't get stuck. Don't take what's going on as the end. Things are going to be different, very likely, as we come through this. But this could be an opportunity to do new things. I mean, like you said, you're not out speaking as much as you were, obviously, because of what's going on. But it sounds like you're being pretty busy online. I'm assuming you're doing some other things to continue to advance your skills and so on. And so an encouragement to be intentional for someone who has lost a job or been furloughed. Take this time to, like Linda said, to grow, to figure out maybe some other skills that you can develop with online now. There's a lot of training available to you, which I think raises a question, because I know you do a lot of workplace help for people, Linda. We got young people who are listening. They're in their 20s and 30s. That's a different kind of approach today than someone who might be in their late 50s or 60s.
Right.
And what do you say to those different age groups as far as a way that they could approach what's going on in the workplace today?
One of the things is if you're younger and more technical, you might have some opportunities to help people who aren't as technical. So often young people, and I have young people, I have an almost 20-year-old next week, and then I have a 25-year-old, and he's married and with his wife, and then she's still in college. The thing is, I think for many years we've been telling you what to do, and that's kind of that age frame. This is a time for you to offer. You all offer to your friends group all the time. This might be the time for you to offer to grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, a neighbor down the street. Hey, can I help you talk to your kids? Hey, can I help you get online? Hey, would you like to talk to your grandkids? Because a lot of people still can't do that. They really can't. So pick up the phone or leave them a note. Young people, you're going to be fine. My mom used to say, this is the cheapest you'll ever live, because you can live very cheaply right now. The people that are older, I know a lot of you are scared, really scared about health issues. Take those precautions, but remember, you can do a lot from your home. There's a lot of technology, and what Randy just said is right. A lot of free stuff. I've learned how to do Zoom calls, which is what Randy and I are on right now, because people had free webinars that I got to attend, and I've started practicing doing them. And then for that middle group, you know, we sandwich you a lot, don't we? You have to take care of young people and be peppy, and you have to worry about the elderly. Here's the thing, you've got to worry about you too. This is the age where a lot of us start seeing illness and sickness other than coronavirus or whatever it is. Take good care of you, because when you get back in that workforce, you're going to have to probably carry a lot of the load, because you've got the wisdom, you've got the energy, you won't be shut up at home. And so get done what you needed to, get your systems in place. And if you're looking for a job, start reaching out with people and build up your LinkedIn, build up your resume, do all those things, and remember what you've learned.
Well, that's powerful, Linda, because I know that many people are viewing this today are concerned. Some aren't. You know, their careers or their business is very secure going through this time and expecting the economy to come back strong. For others, this can be a time of change, because I suspect the world we're going to see in the future is going to be slightly different than it is in the past.
Sure.
And I think for, like you said, for younger people who are technologically pretty savvy, they're going to have an advantage, because I think what the kind of thing we're doing now, we're going to see more of this. I guess if I'm correct, my guess is when we get on the other side of this virus, there's going to be more and more people wanting to work from home. This is
Right.
work for them, and they're going to be working from home. And so learning technology, and like you say, maybe for older people who you're not feeling real technologically savvy, to learn things. I've had to do that, to learn things so I can do what I'm doing here. Don't be afraid of it. You know, this is an opportunity to grow. There's a lot available online. This could be a whole new adventure for many people today. I think it's an exciting time. I always tell people, Linda, don't lose any crisis. Every crisis is an opportunity to grow, to learn. I've had many throughout my life. This is a unique one, of course. And we either choose to get sidetracked and stuck in the mud, or we keep moving and we choose to be intentional. I think some of the principles I hear you teaching, though, really work in the home as well. How do you use some of these principles that you teach for the workplace right now, when the workplace is at home, and maybe your spouse is there and your children? And how do the negotiation skills work there?
Well, part of it is always have a sense of humor. That's kind of a hidden negotiation talent that you need to have because you don't realize how crazy that spouse is on work until you see them work, right? And my spouse and I have very different, Greg and I work very differently. He's on the phone a lot. He's a financial planner. So this is not a great time to be a financial planner and having to reassure everybody. So that's one thing is figure out do you need some downtime? Do you both need to kind of separate a little bit? Do you need, we try to have lunch together. We try to have dinner together. We try to do all of those things. So figure out what works for you. And the other thing that you might look at is with kids, I've tried to post, like, what can you do with your kids right now? And one of my friends posted something and I thought this was great. They negotiated a schedule and they have some set schedule time, and then they have some alone time. So Randy, I saw the cutest thing today. This dad had his kids out and he was timing them on the race, and they were trying to beat their time. They weren't against each other. It was, okay, it's your turn, run. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm just wearing them out for a nap, So he was giving his wife a break so she could get some work done, and then they swapped. Just remember, and my neighbor just had her father, who's 88, come live with them. They, took him out of the retirement home and brought him home because he was missing everybody. He was lonely there, and they were fortunate they could do that. And so they've had to negotiate. And she's like, okay, well, we can only watch movies at this time because she wants him to be interactive, and she picks a Western movie, and that's her negotiation with him, is she'll sit with him on the Western movie at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock and watch it, but that's all the Western she can do. So you want to think again, what do I have to have? What do I need? Why? So for me, I have to have some downtime. I have to talk to friends and conversations, what I need, and so how can I get it? And then, is it worth it to me to fight some of the battles? No, some of them, yeah, right? Some of them I really need to push for. And my husband's the same way. What does he need? Well, he needs quiet time to work. He's in a different part of the house. But then the other thing his need is, he doesn't get energized by being with people. He gets energized by being with himself. So he goes and sits outside, and I'm not supposed to come and go, hey, Greg, let's talk. No, I pick up the phone and talk to one of my friends. So be thinking about what does each individual person need, and have a conversation and say, okay, well, we can meet that need. I can't meet it 24/7, but when would you like to do that? How would you like to do that? And actually ask each person, how would you like that need met? And you know what? We love each other, most of us, right? So we're going to try to meet the needs as best as we can. And then when we can't, we might even need ground rules there. What is it we're going to do if we're both getting on each other's nerves? If the kids are running crazy, which one of my pastor's child is, he's wound up all the time, So what are we going to do to help respect each other and get through this.
You know, one of the things I was talking to Stephen Davis, one of our producers here, and Stephen and I work closely on programs as I do with Rob. And Stephen he said to me 3 or 4 times, because he's working at home, he's producing programs and doing things for me there. And he said one of the things he's really wrestling with is there's no definition in time between day and night, work and not work. And
Right.
the fact that we're home, and I'm finding this true. I mean, I just come into my office. I can be here in the evening. I was up at midnight last night doing some things here, and typically I wouldn't be doing that. And so
Right.
there's putting some routine, keeping that routine, I think can also be a very valuable thing. One more thing, Linda, I'm thinking of bosses, supervisors who are listening, and they've got employees who are maybe working from home now, and everybody's stressed. What are some things that the boss, the owners of the business, the supervisors can do to provide more support and encouragement for their employees who maybe are feeling pretty fearful about what's
Sure.
going on right now?
Well, bosses, first off, I'm going to say take care of yourselves, because that's what I did I did a virtual meeting survey, and one of the things the leader said is I'm not always taking care of myself. So make sure you do that, because you can't give your whole self all the time to everybody you lead. Another is bosses, figure out where people really do need to be in a meeting. So one of my friends said she sat through a 2-hour meeting with the CEO. Well, at the end of it, she still had all of her work to do. And there was this is why we sat through the 2 hours of meeting with the CEO. Whereas if he had, the boss had rallied the troops right after and said, this is why we just sat there. This is what's important to us. This is what we don't have to worry about. So put things into context for them. And people are just reporting they are just exhausted by meetings. For some reason, we feel like what we used to be able to say in a text or a quick call or just seeing somebody in the hall if you work there with them, now all of a sudden it has to be a formal meeting. Well, really, don't do that to people if they don't have to. Come up with meeting rules of engagement, that this is how we're going to do with meetings. Maybe you have office hours. One of my friends says, they're trying to do Fridays free of meetings. So meeting free Friday so that people can get their work done. And then I've got a trick, Randy, that a lot of my companies, my clients are saying is working for them. These virtual meetings, and Randy, you're on the radio, so you know this. You have to be on point, or you audience members don't listen. People, your listeners aren't there. But a lot of us, we don't know how to jump into the content, whatever the meeting content is. That's so important right now. So much so that people are cutting their meetings in half, or at least by a quarter. So if you have a regular team meeting, let's say, instead of doing an hour-long meeting from 2 to 3, here's a trick. Cut it into 45 minutes and start at 5 minutes after the hour. So do 2:05. Instead of 2 to 3, we're going to meet at 2:05, and then do your best to have an agenda, meeting rules. Do your best to have it done at 2:50. Now what that does is that gives you 10 minutes in case it spills over. Hopefully it won't. But it also gives people 10 minutes to follow through, send out the email they had to, make that quick phone call, and they can address whatever they were assigned to right then.
Good.
And then that starting 5 minutes late allows people to go to the bathroom, to get a drink of water. We're just putting meeting on top of meeting on top of meeting, and then we're not taking anything away, like what's required.
And I'm not sure that the Zoom type meetings are going to change that much. I think the meetings, if anything, they could even go on longer.
Well, that's what people are saying. Yeah, they're going on longer.
We need to be careful. I agree with you. Have an agenda, stay on point, be very intentional now more than ever with these meetings, because I've been in meetings this morning. I was in meetings yesterday, and they're good, but you keep a schedule, keep things moving, stay on point. I think those are all really powerful things. Well, Linda, you've been a big help today. A lot of really interesting things we've been talking about in the workplace. And I would invite those of you who've been viewing this, if you have a comment, maybe you can share with us how you've been controlling your meetings from home. And what have you been doing to prepare for the next stage in your life? Maybe you're looking for a new career. Maybe you have a question that you'd like to post that we can get to. I'll have Linda back another time and we'll try to answer some of your questions. We'd love to have you post them here on Facebook, share them with us at our website, and we'd love to have you do that as well. And as a reminder, we've been talking from day to day about the power of freedom from hijacked emotions. And in fact, I'll be teaching from this tomorrow again. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm teaching from Freedom from Hijacked Emotions. And if you'd like to know more about receiving that book, you can check it out at our radio network website, which is myflr.org, myflr.org. And it's there for you, and the station is making that available. You can check it out. So Linda, thank you for joining us today, and God bless you. And we pray that we come out the other side here. You'll find newer and better and greater opportunities to take the talent, the skill, and the message you have even to a greater audience around the world.
Thanks so much for having me, Randy. God bless.
Thank you.